Hans Martin has been leading people to Jesus in Burkina Faso and Mali. He is on the board of the Association of Campaign Evangelists. This network of evangelists has ministered in over 80 village campaigns in Burkina Faso. During the time that this ministry has taken place, the percentage of Christians in Burkina Faso has grown from approximately 2% to over 11% of the population. Today, Hans Martin helps to lead Evidence of Faith, the evangelistic ministry started by the famous Norwegian evangelist Aril Edvardsen.
Jesus said, "Go into all the world and preach the gospel."
Everyone who calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved.
Welcome to the Evangelism Podcast with Dr. Daniel King, where Daniel interviews full-time evangelists, pastors, missionaries, and normal everyday Christians to discover how they share their faith, their powerful testimonies, and amazing stories that will inspire you to reach people with the good news. And now, here's your host, missionary and evangelist, Daniel King.
Welcome to the Evangelism Podcast. I'm Daniel King, and I'm excited about telling people about Jesus. Today I have a very special guest with me, Hans Martin. Thank you for being on the Evangelism Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you'll have to tell me, how do you pronounce your last name?
Skagestad. In English, it would be like Skagestad or something like that. So I don't, usually when I'm out, I never use my last name. I usually just use my two first name, Hans Martin.
Okay. And so we are sitting on the historic grounds of a great Norwegian evangelist. Tell me about him and what he did in this place.
Yeah, this is the base that was built and founded by Aril Edvardsen, evangelist Aril Edvardsen. It started in 1960, where God called him to have a worldwide mission organization. So that's where we are. It's a small place in Norway called Kvinesdal. It only lives maybe around 2,500 people here, but it's become a big center of Christians all over Scandinavia has come to this place to be inspired, to go to Bible schools and sent out to preach the gospel all over the world. And also this organization, and through the work during these 60 years that organizations have reached out to millions of people all over the world.
It's steeped in history here. It's so wonderful to be in a place where revival has gone out all over the world. And we're actually here for a conference with the Association of Campaign Evangelists, ACE, and you're one of the board members for the organization. And we've actually met in many different countries. Last year we were in Turkey together. And we are here with campaign evangelists who have a heart for preaching the gospel, and you have spent a lot of time going to different nations around the world and preaching the gospel. Tell me about some of the countries that you focused on and what God's done there.
Yeah, so I have been traveling to many different countries having campaigns. I think I've been to preaching in maybe around 60 countries the last 13, 14 years, but there are some countries that I have had my main focus on when it comes to campaigns and crusades, and that's two of them are Burkina Faso and Mali, that I have spent most of my time the last years having campaigns there. And so Burkina Faso is the main focus, and together with Mali.
And so over the years, how many campaigns has ACE done in Burkina Faso?
It's around 75 to 80, I think, somewhere between that we have had in Burkina Faso the last, I think it's 20 years. And I have had 35 myself, the last, since 2012. We've really had a great impact. And what you can see with Burkina Faso is quite interesting, is that for 20 years ago, there was around 2.5 evangelical Christians in Burkina Faso, and now it's around 11.5% evangelical Christians in Burkina Faso. It's not only the work with the campaigns that we have done with ACE and my organization and others, but it is several things that happen. But it's actually a great revival in Burkina Faso, especially to see when Burkina Faso has been a troubled country with a lot of terrorism, unstable politician situation, and also to see how Burkina Faso is the second country with most terror attacks in 2022. It's only Afghanistan that had more terror attacks than Burkina Faso. But still, in that environment, the gospel is growing, and there is a great revival happening. So for me, that's really inspiring to see that, we can sometimes look at the environment and we think, oh, it's tough, especially in Europe, and I would guess it's the same in America. We look at the environment and the politician situation and we think, oh, it's difficult, but God is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And the power of God is shaking nations, and that is what we see in Burkina Faso. And we have seen thousands of people giving, hundreds of thousands of people giving their life to Christ. And it's really, really inspiring, and to see in these difficult situations how God is working. And we also work very closely with what we call local missionaries. We support local missionaries because we plant churches. We have planted hundreds of churches in Burkina Faso the last 20 years, and it's amazing what's happening there. And most people have never heard of Burkina Faso. But it's actually a country with 23 million people, and it's amazing to see what God is doing in these nations.
I really love the strategy that you have had for Burkina Faso, because over the years, doing over 70, 80 campaigns in one country, you're able to systematically go from village to village to village. And so some of the campaigns aren't huge, but you go to a small village, and for that village, it's the biggest thing that's ever happened in that place.
Yeah.
And so talk to me some about the strategy and the process of what you're hoping to accomplish long term.
Yeah, the goal or the thinking we had was that we want to go to new places. We want to go to places where there never been a gospel campaign, where maybe even where there never been preached the gospel before, and we did that when we started 20 years ago. What we see now is quite interesting, is that we have been now to between 70 and 80 cities around and villages around in Burkina Faso, and some of the what was a village 20 years ago is now become a big city because of the growth of the population. So it's when we were there 20 years ago, maybe there was 20,000 people. Now it's 150,000 people in the village. So we actually now also we are thinking of maybe some of the villages we have to go back to because they have grown so much, and there are a new generation. But also our thinking is that we want to go to every. We are together with our local that we work with. We say that we want to go to every city and village in Burkina Faso. That's our goal. And
about how many would that be?
Oh, that's thousands. So
Wow.
so we also.
So you're really only just getting started.
Yeah, but the thing is that we don't see that we have to go to all these thousands of there. I think it's 2,000 villages and cities that have never been preached in Burkina Faso. So we're not thinking that we have to go to all that, but we also train that what we use also the local missionaries, the local evangelists. We want them to go out to these villages and preach and have their own mini campaigns in the small villages. So when I say between 70 and 80 campaigns that we have had, that's the people in ACE. But if we take the local missionaries, there will be hundreds more that has had campaigns. So we want to be really strategic in what we do, because we believe that it's important for the nation, and we work also very closely with the local denominations, and we never plant our own churches, where we plant through the local denominations.
Okay, so I pulled out my calculator here, and you said there's 24 million people in Burkina Faso.
Yeah.
And so 24 million times 24 million hold on, times 0.025% would have been around 600,000 believers.
Yeah.
And then over the last 20 years, it's gone from about 2.5%
To around 11.5.
to about 11.5. So I'm going to put these numbers in. We got 24 million times 0.115 equals, so now over 2,700,060 believers, 60,000 believers. And so over the course of 20 years, see almost 3 million people that now serve Jesus. I mean, it's an amazing revival. I mean, hardly anyone's ever heard of what God is doing there. But when you think about it, over 2 million people giving their lives to Jesus, that is a great revival.
Yeah, you could put in a context, if that happened in America, that almost 10% increase. That would be, how many lives in America?
Like 300 million.
Yeah, that would be 30 million that got saved in 20 years. You know, that and same thing in Europe. It would be, you know, it would be a revival that the newspapers would speak about and write about every day. So but also what I think is good, because it have been a quite tough Muslim country with a lot of terror attacks, a lot of things. I think also it's good that in some way that it's not up in the news and talked about what happened there, because you have to, you know, there can be tough times also for the locals we work with. In some areas it's quite tough, especially in the northern part, and the eastern part has been very difficult the last years. But even to see now that there are happening so much, it's really inspiring.
And then you've also been going to Mali. You have a great heart for Mali.
Yeah.
I've been to Bamako. I think the capital there, and I got to participate in a campaign there a few years ago. But many Muslims in Mali.
Yeah, there are. It's totally different from Burkina Faso. In Mali, there are 0.66%, so less than 1% Christian, evangelical Christians. It's a very, most of them are Muslims. There you have some animists and so on, but most are Muslims. And then what is quite strange with Mali is that Mali had a lot of missionaries, a lot of mission work for a lot of years, but there is not happening a lot in Mali. It has been quite closed, quite not so much happening. But what we have seen when we work with the locals, to support the locals, the fruits of it has been quite good, and also the campaigns. I usually, because also some of the challenges that a lot of mission work is happening in Bamako. You have a lot of Christians in Bamako, but not a lot of. Most of the Christians are in Bamako. But when you go out of Bamako, there are not many Christians. So I have had my main focus on the towns and the villages outside Bamako, in the east and the west, in the middle, and in the north it has been quite difficult because it's been very strict Islamic ruling system there, and also the UN soldiers have been there fighting with the IS and Boko Haram and all these different Islamistic groups. But to see also now, we see in towns and in villages around Mali, there are happening, people are getting saved. We see thousands of people giving their life to Jesus. We're planting churches, so it's really, really amazing to see.
I pray that in 20 years we will see another great success in Mali.
That's my prayer, and because what you can see with the Malian people and the Burkina Faso, as they call themselves, Burkina Base, that's what they call themselves. But what you see, they're almost the same people. They are very similar. They are very, very alike. It's like a Scandinavian. We say, the Swedes and the Norwegians are quite the same people. We speak the same language, and it's the same. But you don't see the same revival and the same impact that the Christianity has in Burkina as in Mali. But my prayer is that it will be a breakthrough in Mali, and I believe so. I believe that Mali will be the next nation that has a breakthrough in West Africa, and because it's the border to the North Africa, and it's just the Sahara is on top of Mali, and then you go to North Africa, and I believe that revival will come in Mali, and that's my prayer.
And so, approximately how many campaigns have you done in Mali?
In Mali, I have done, let me see, I just have to, maybe 20, 25 campaigns in Mali. Yeah.
Wow. Now let's talk about this ministry here. Tell me the name in Norwegian and then tell me what it means in English.
The name is Troens Bevis, and if you just translate it straight on, it's evidence of faith.
And actually, there is great evidence of faith right here. The founder, Aril
Edvardsen, yeah.
He comes from this small village, less than 2,000 people, and in the auditorium here, there's room for over 2,500 people to pack it there.
Yeah.
And so you build a bigger auditorium than but for ever since the early 1960s, people have been coming here for revival every single summer.
Yeah.
And so the focus of this ministry, kind of talk to me about historically, what's been the focus of the ministry?
The focus has started with, and it always been this last. Our main focus is, of course, the unreached. That's the beginning.
Reaching the unreached.
Yeah, reaching the unreached, and then the next have always been through the local missionaries, the local evangelists. We've always been like a mission organization that focus on the local missionaries, and in the beginning that was a big discussion. A lot of Christian leaders didn't like that, because if you are a missionary, you have to be white, you have to be taught in the right way, you have to be in this or that. But Aril always thought that the best way is to send out the local missionaries. We have a saying that the local missionaries, they know the language, they know the culture, and they like the food. And for us who have been traveled to many countries, it's not always we know the language. It's not always we understand the culture. And I can say for myself, it's not always I like the food. So that's what we've been thinking, that to send out and give support to the local workers. It's really important, because we believe that, of course, we believe in Western missionaries. We believe to send people, but we believe also in giving, helping the local ones. So that has been the main thing. And we have done a lot of things during the 60 years. We have had TV channel. We have one we call a correspondence course, a New Life. That's introduction to the Christian faith. That was written in 1972 by Aril Edvardsen, and from 72 to now, there are 7 million people that has given their life to Christ through that correspondence course. So it has been one of the tools that we have used and the local missionaries have used. We use it often in our campaigns. So we give it to the people that comes, so they have an introduction. Now, in the beginning, of course, it was in paper. Now we have an app, and we use also digital things to use that correspondence course. And then, of course, campaigns also is a part of our ministry. We have done, I don't know, hundreds of campaigns during the year of the ministry, and also been an important, door opener into nations, into towns, and into villages. So that's also a part of what we have done.
What a tremendous legacy. And just recently, you were named to help lead the organization, which is you're standing on the shoulders of spiritual giants, which is amazing. But you're 36 years old. So what is that like to suddenly be given this mandate, this vision, and you're a steward of it, but then also looking to the future?
It has been some ways also challenging, because Aril gave, after Aril, there was his son, Rune, who took over the organization when he died. And he has been leading it for 15 years. He's a totally different person than his father. And I think that's a strong thing. We say in Norwegian that he has not taken his father's shoes, but he's walked in his own shoes. not trying to be his father, but to be himself. And this summer in our summer conference, I was prayed for, and I was named the next leader. Me and Rune will, and I'm very happy for that, because we are going to lead it together for some years, and then I will take over after him. We don't know how many years that will be. It can be 2 years, it can be 5, but we will see. But for me, it's been really good, because I think it's good to have a good transitions, and for me, I think that's really great. But of course, I'm very humble in going into this leadership and to take over. As you said, I'm 36 years old, but for me, it has been really important to. It's about the calling. It's not about necessarily the gift, all the gifting and all these things, but it's the calling. And I have known this for many years, that I'm going to be the successor or take over after him, but it was we have talked about it maybe in 5 years, but for me, it has been a long process for me, because this is a big organization. It has have great impact in the whole country, but I have felt like God has called me to do this, and I think I'm really looking forward for the future. But as the question you ask, what I see in the future, to be honest, I see, I think it's the same thing in America as it is in Europe. Is you see a generation growing up now that don't know much about mission. At least they don't know about reaching the unreached. And for me, I feel that's probably my most important calling, is to really reach the next generation with mission, to get them to understand the importance of Jesus' commandment of going out to the nations and reaching those who have never heard about Jesus. Because I think we need generations growing up now really going after the souls, after the unreached. So that's probably what I see is the most important thing for me, is to really reach the next generation, because we like our organizations who have been for 60 years. The last 10 years we really worked on because we have our supporters. They have been, a lot of have been from the beginning when it started for 6 years. So we have had a lot of old supporters, but the last 10 years we have really changed and really reached younger supporters and that are connecting with our mission work. So that's also one thing that I'm working on and spending a lot of time. We have what we called partner churches. We partner with churches in Scandinavia, Europe. We also have some few in America, actually, that we work together with, and that's also important, because we really believe in the local church. We believe in the local church in Europe, in America, but we also believe in the local church in Africa, Asia, where we work. So we really want to connect with the local church. That's really important for us.
And so when someone chooses to support you, they're helping to support missionaries in different countries.
Yeah.
Not Western missionaries, but national missionaries. Yeah. And so, what does that look like? How long would you support someone for? How much does it cost to support someone in a nation in Africa?
Yeah. So we usually say that we support a local missionary for 5 years. Then we want them to be self-supported, that they have built a church or built a ministry so they can self-support themselves. But we support them. But in some areas where it's more difficult, because there are different areas. Some are tougher, and in some areas they can have, in 2 years they can have a church for 200 people. In some areas they can be there for 5 years, but still their church is maybe 30, because it's a tougher area. But so some we also support longer, depends on the situation. But we always work with local leaders. We have a local leader in every country that we work together with, and he is in charge of that country, and then we support through his ministry or her. We also have some women that are leaders in different countries. So that's how we work. We support locals, and it depends on the country how much it costs, because we say that we don't give them a Norwegian salary or American salary, but what we give is that so they can support themselves and their family with food and what they need. So we often go on the average salary in the country. It depends. In some countries it can be $100. In some it can be $70. Some countries $200. Depends on the country and the costs of living in the country. So we that's very different. In China it's a totally different number than in Burkina Faso, for example.
And you're really focusing on the most unreached parts of the world.
Yeah, we work mainly in what we call the 1040 window, where the most unreached countries are, the most unreached people groups are. So we work in those countries. So we have always done that. I think actually Evidence of Faith have worked in almost every country in the world now. So maybe some few we haven't been, but during our 60 years of history, we have been in almost every country. But now we work in 25 countries, I think it is, that we work in now. So.
And approximately how many national missionaries would you support?
We have 1,400 national missionaries around the world that we support.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're seeing amazing fruit.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you take the last 3 years, we through both our local missionaries during and through our campaigns and the different work we do, the last 3 years we have planted 6,000 churches. The last 3 years.
Wow. So if someone is listening and they say, "Oh, I want to help support a national missionary," how can they get in touch with you? What's your website?
You can go to evidenceoffaith.org. That's where you can find contact us. If you're Scandinavian, you can go to Troens Bevis. But for those who are not speaking our Scandinavian language, it's evidenceoffaith.org, and you can read more about our work and you can contact us there.
Well, such an amazing ministry, such an amazing history here, and I believe that the best is yet to come. I think that the greatest harvest of souls in history is going to happen in just the next few years. And so we've seen great things happen in the past, but yet in the future, I think we will see many more millions of people come into the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And you can just see on the population growth of the world. For us who are 60 years, if you go 60 years back, the population has doubled almost. So it's the population growth in the world are great. So what we need is more workers. That's why also I think the local national workers are really important, because we need more workers. We need also American workers, European workers. We need more workers out in the mission field. And what I think is very different, because sometimes I feel like I'm living in two worlds. You have the Western world, and you have what we do in Africa, Asia, North Africa, and all this. Often we don't maybe see so much fruit in the Western world. We don't see so many revivals. We don't see a lot of people coming to Christ. But it's a totally different thing in the 1040 window and in Africa, Asia, because there is there are a longing for the gospel, and it's just a question, how many workers can we send? That's what it's about. It's to send more workers and to send out more workers, because the harvest is great.
Yeah, even Jesus said, the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few.
Yeah.
We just need more laborers.
We do that. We need that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the Evangelism Podcast. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much to have me, Daniel.
Are you called by God to be an evangelist? Do you want to lead millions of people to Jesus? Do you desire to be trained in the practical side of building a ministry? Then check out the Daniel King School of Evangelism. Learn how to be an effective evangelist from Dr. Daniel King's 20-plus years of experience. Daniel King has done crusades all over the world in over 70 nations and has seen over 2 million people give their lives to Jesus. But it wasn't easy. There was no crusade school, so Daniel traveled the world, learning from and observing top evangelists, noticing how they successfully won souls for Christ. Now, he wants to share decades of knowledge and experience with you. Topics of the Daniel King School of Evangelism include what is an evangelist, how to be a master soul winner, how to give an altar call, how to organize a crusade, how to raise money for your ministry, and much more. If you want to be an evangelist but don't know where to start, the Daniel King School of Evangelism is for you. Enroll today in the School of Evangelism by going to danielkingministries.com/evangelism.
Thanks so much for listening today. I am excited about telling people about Jesus, and I want to invite you to be a part of helping us to rescue people from hell and take them with us to heaven. There's two things you can do to help. First of all, can you go find the Evangelism Podcast on Apple iTunes and leave us a positive review? By giving a review, you will help other people find these valuable resources about sharing our faith. And second, would you become a financial partner with King Ministries? Every single dollar that people give us enables us to lead at least one person to Jesus. And so that means for only $1, you can help start a party in heaven. And so today I want to invite you to become a monthly partner. You can start out for just $1, but if God puts it on your heart to do more, of course you can do more. But please go to kingministries.com and become a monthly partner with us today to help us to lead more people to Jesus. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
For more information about how to share your faith or to financially support our worldwide evangelistic outreaches, visit kingministries.com. Again, that's kingministries.com.